Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I hope you are having a great day. Let's start with today's stories. Am I the idiot for telling my wife that I will not help her if she took on full responsibility of her kids' medical expenses? I, 35 male, know this sounds crazy, and if I was a stranger reading this without context, I'd be weirded out too, but let me explain. My wife, 42 female, Carla, has split custody of her kids with her ex-husband, Jonathan, 45 male. Everything they do is 50-50, including the medical bills. For some background, my stepdaughter, Malia, 12 female, has Treacher-Collins syndrome and is constantly in the hospital. I don't really know how to explain it, as well as my wife would to you, but think of the little boy from Wonder. Except it's worse in real life. There is no way to explain how hard it is for Malia every day. Now, Jonathan and Carla have been getting into arguments over Carla not being there for surgeries and not paying for her half of the expenses. From what Carla told me, she said she got mad and wanted to prove to him that she didn't need him and told him she could pay for all the expenses. I straight out told Carla that was a stupid idea. If you have a family member with the same syndrome Malia has, you know the surgeries get expensive. We are middle class, so paying for half wasn't too hard when we do it together. Jonathan is high class. He has multiple businesses and has the money to pay for all the surgeries if he wanted. Obviously, I know he shouldn't, and it definitely should be a 50-50 thing between the parents. Last night, I told Carla that I'm stepping out of the medical expenses for Malia. She asked me what I meant, and I told her I wouldn't be helping her with them. She told me that I was being selfish, and I didn't care for Malia, but honestly, I think that what I did wasn't wrong. My parents said that I'm not in the wrong, but my sister and brother told me that I was being cold about the situation. Honestly, I don't understand your wife's decision. She knows that you guys can't pay daughter's medical expenses alone, so why would she make this decision? Saying she was going to pay for everything herself, when her daughter's father is more than willing to contribute? Is there more to the story that your wife isn't telling you, OP? Because this decision doesn't make sense. I understand saying something like that, in the heat of the moment in a fight, but actually going through with it, when she knows there's no way you two can afford the medical expenses on your own, is crazy. Even more so, when the fight started, because she wasn't paying her share. If she couldn't already pay half, how does she expect to pay for all of it from now on? And why is she making this kind of decision without talking to you first? Also, why isn't your wife there for your daughter's surgeries? Is it because of work, or because of the other children? What is going on? And yeah, seeing from your siblings' perspective, could you be a little more understanding of your wife's decision? Sure. But you also have to be realistic, and the reality is that you guys can't cover all stepdaughter's medical expenses by yourselves. And if you do, it will probably lead you to endless debt. Not the idiot OP, your wife is not thinking straight, please talk to her soon, and please bring her back to reality. Now let's read what the comments have to say. Wait, what? What was the original argument? Was the ex paying 100% of the medical bills? This caused an argument. So instead of going 50-50, she said, screw you, I'll pay for it on my own without you. And without asking you? Is that correct? You are right, bill splitting should be 50-50, or if the ex is earning significantly more and is happy to pay more, you pay apportionately. Yet you pool the entire earnings, and work out the percentage of how much each person earns, and do an equal percentage of salary. So if X earns 60% of the pooled income and is happy to pay, he pays 60%. But your wife seems to have been freeloading, and now has had a hissy fit, and taken all the expense without consulting you, and expects you to now pay. If that is the case, not the idiot. If you are helping to pay, you get a say in the discussion. Therefore the three of you come up with a decision together. If she doesn't let you have a seat at the table to discuss a huge financial burden, and takes the full cost on the both of you without talking to you, you are not the idiot. For refusing to be a part of a decision you did not agree to. She doesn't get to make a huge decision on your shared income without consulting you first. So she takes on the burden alone. Absolutely a hill to die on. Personally, I'd tell her she is bang out of order. And the three of you sit down together to make a reasonable agreement. Not the idiot. There are massive red flags here though. Your wife hasn't honored her agreement to pay 50% of Malia's medical expenses. But not being there for her surgeries? That's a whole different ball game. This is her daughter. It isn't you who's being uncaring or cold here. She isn't going to pay for the whole of Malia's surgery, whatever she says, and from the sound of it, her ex will. You don't say if you have children together. If you don't, I'd consider that decision very carefully. I'm sorry, OP, but your wife does not show up at all well on the facts you've given. I don't understand your wife's logic. Her ex accused her of not paying her share, or spending her share of time with her kid. She insisted that she does. To prove that to him, she insisted she'd take 100% responsibility for their child. Why? Why not start documenting expenses on their child and time spent with her, and use that to prove she does her share? Unless she doesn't. And what did you guys think of this story? What would you do if you were in OP's situation? Would you also have the same reaction as him? Or would you support wife's decision? Please, leave your comments down below. Am I the idiot for telling my son he needs to grow up a little and stop refusing to see his ex-girlfriend? My son is 26, with a beautiful 8-year-old daughter. He and his ex-girlfriend were both 18 when she came around, and she was definitely a little surprised. Despite the circumstances, my son really stepped up. He got a good job and eventually got them a nice apartment. They were together for almost 3 years, but she just wasn't ready to be a mother, and she ran away with some other boy. She wasn't a bad girl, she just wasn't prepared to be an adult. This devastated my son, but he found his feet. My granddaughter was still very young, so she never had strong memories of her mom. He's been a single father since then, and it's still a sore spot for him. Yesterday, my son came by my house incredibly upset, saying that his ex-girlfriend came to see them. She said she was sorry for leaving like she did, and just wanted to see him and her daughter. My son said he told her not to come back, and shut the door on her. He was practically in tears telling me this. I told him he needed to calm down, and act like an adult about this. She wasn't asking for anything, but to talk, and the least he could do was hear her out. I tried to tell him that he couldn't refuse his daughter a chance to connect with her mom, how good this could be for all of them. But he was a complete mess, he couldn't even talk to me, just stormed out. I've called, but he won't answer. I understand how hard this is for him, but this isn't some evil, malicious woman, and it sounds like she's coming from a place of real remorse. I was just trying to help him think clearly, but it feels like he just won't be rational here, and it's starting to affect his and his daughter's lives. OP, please, read the room, this was not the time to be rational. Your son was crushed by this woman in the past, abandoned by her with a young daughter, when she ran off with another guy, and years later she shows up on his doorstep, wanting to be part of their lives, just like that. And you think he's being too emotional about this? Well, yeah, he has a reason for that. The witch who destroyed his life is back. Look, I understand that you want your granddaughter to have her mother in her life, and that is very noble, but this was not the time to be rational and think about practical things. This was the time to comfort your son, when the person who hurt him so much is back in his life, or rather, wants to be. Then, after the shock had passed and the anger of seeing her again had subsided, then you could talk calmly, and perhaps make decisions thinking more rationally, but this was not the time. Unfortunately, your heart may be in the right place, OP, but you acted like an insensitive jerk to your broken-hearted son. Now let's read what people say in the comments. You are the idiot. He was practically in tears telling me this. I told him he needed to calm down and act like an adult about this. Has he got anyone he can go to who'll support him? You know, someone who cares about him. You are the idiot. Your son and granddaughter were abandoned, and he was unexpectedly confronted by the person who abandoned them. It makes sense for him to be shaken. You're showing the person who hurt him more empathy than you're showing him, and it's shitty. It's his choice whether to engage with her or not. Your opinion on her level of remorse, when you didn't even interact with her directly, and have literally no way of knowing, doesn't matter. You are the idiot. If she wants to see the kid she abandoned, she can go through the courts. She can pay him child support and do supervised visits until the kid knows her and is comfortable. You are the idiot. Why are you pressuring your son to see and talk to the woman that abandoned him and the baby? She was an adult, not a 14-year-old kid, when she abandoned both of them and ran away with some other boy. You are the idiot. She's been gone for 8 years, and you think only now it's starting to affect his and his daughter's life, now that she has returned and wants to be part of their life? It has been affecting them for years. This is his decision, and eventually his daughter's decision, if either one of them wants to reconnect with the woman/mother that abandoned them. And what did you guys think of this situation? What would you do if you were OP? Would you have said the same thing to your son? Even if it wasn't what he wanted to hear? Leave your comments below. Oh, are you enjoying the video so far? If so, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications to know when a new video is out. This helps the channel, so I really appreciate it. Now let's go to the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my stepdaughter's bio dad this is why I am her real dad? I, male, 39, have known my wife for 10 years now, married for 7. When I met her, she had a 3-year-old daughter, now 13. I always made it a point to treat her as I would my own kid, and we became close pretty quickly. When she was around 4, she even started calling me daddy. Her biological dad comes in and out of my stepdaughter's life. She calls us both dad, but when she's usually around home with my wife and I, she refers to him by his first name. Well, last night, she was visiting with her bio dad when I got a text from my stepdaughter wondering if I could pick her up. Well, I got there and she was sitting outside with her bio dad holding her arm. She came over to my car and told me she was messing around with a skateboard and fell on her arm. Her arm was bruised, swollen, and hard for her to move. I asked her bio dad why he didn't call my wife. He said, "I don't think it's that bad, she's just being dramatic." My stepdaughter just looked at me and said, "Dad, can we just please go? I'm in a lot of pain." As she was getting in the car, I told her bio dad, "See, this is why I'm her real dad, not you. I actually care for her and her well-being." Later that night, my wife got an angry text from bio dad calling me an a-hole, and my wife kinda agrees that I was being an a-hole at that moment. Daughter actually did break her arm, but her bio dad wasn't going to do anything about it. I'm the one who was in the ER with her until 1 a.m. Also, I would like to add, I don't call her my stepdaughter, instead I call her my daughter. Just for the sake of the post, I called her stepdaughter, I figured it would be easier. OP also gives more info in the comments. Someone asked OP, "How long was that poor girl sitting there with a broken arm?" And OP replied, "She told me around 2 hours, until the pain became intolerable. It was clearly not okay, like I said it was bruised and swollen, and hard for her to move." Other person wonders. So, she broke her arm and your wife still thinks you the a-hole? For real? OP said. She thinks how I was responded, I was being an a-hole. She's also mad at daughter's bio dad for not taking her injury and pain seriously. I don't think you were the idiot, OP. Of course, when you think only rationally, we can even say that you went too far with the bio father, but when we think that you arrived at his house and saw that your daughter was hurt and in pain, there is no way to not understand your reaction. You acted on instinct, and he was neglecting daughter's health and safety. Since for him, quote, she's just being dramatic. And at the end, the kid actually broke her arm, she got seriously hurt, and instead of him worrying about this, and being embarrassed for not helping his daughter sooner, he disregarded her pain. He is more worried about what you said to him, or rather, about you throwing it in his face that he's a bad father. And I get that your wife ended up in a bad situation between the two of you, but I bet her reaction would be similar, if she had been the one who found daughter like that. Now let's read what the comments have to say. Her bio dad said, I don't think it's that bad, she's just being dramatic. Daughter actually did break her arm, but her bio dad wasn't going to do anything about it. And this is why you're not the idiot. I may be biased here, because I too have a bad bio dad, but not the idiot. Trust me, that kid will know to come to you when she needs help, not that a-hole. And she will remember who sat with her till 1 a.m., and who called her dramatic. As someone who wishes they had a stepdad like you, at some point in my life, good on you. We all know who the real dad is. The one that took her to the hospital. You spoke your mind, and stood up for your daughter. Justified a-hole, because it's true. Not the idiot though, because it needed to be said, and quite honestly, go to the courts with this all documented, and get his rights taken away, he is an unfit parent. Kind of everyone sucks here. I get the impulse, but you didn't add anything positive to the interaction here. Especially not cool to do where your kid could possibly hear. She doesn't need to be subjected to y'all's conflict, or to be told that her father doesn't care about her. I'm sorry, but he clearly doesn't. With the fact he broke her arm and didn't even attempt to take her to the ER when she was in a lot of pain, with a bruise and swollen arm. I will never say that to her, she can figure that out on her own. But it's clear he doesn't, at least not enough to put her best interest first. And what did you think of this situation? What would you do if you were OP? Do you think you went too far? What about the wife? Do you think she should have backed up OP? Don't forget to leave your comments down below. And that's it for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.